Hi there guys, Quayle here. Hope everybody's doing very well as ever. So today is the day. This is very exciting. Finally, I get to show you this fantastic product from Neural DSP, the Quad Cortex. A lot of people have been very excited, and quite rightly so, about this product. So does it live up to the hype? Well, absolutely. And in this video, grab a coffee guys, get relaxed because it's going to be a long one. We're going to check out everything that this unit can do. We're going to start with some presets. So let's check those out now, and then as I say, we'll take a deep dive into this unit so you guys can see exactly what it's capable of. Okay, I'll see you at the end, guys. So here it is, guys. This is the Quad Cortex from Neural DSP. And if you had any worries in your mind that this unit might have been overhyped and over kind of pushed, if you like, then I would just let those worries rest. This genuinely, guys, is a super exciting, high quality product that's been really well thought through. The R&D has been done really, really well. It's built really solidly. And you know, the functionality here, there's nothing else on the market that does the number of things that this unit does. So obviously, first of all, it's a fantastic amp modeler, and Neural DSP have a proven history in this regard with their software plugins for guys like Plini, Tosin, you know, Nolly, Gajira now, just fantastic plugins that have become really standard within the industry. And that has been, that sort of knowledge has been transferred into this unit, and it sounds fantastic, feels fantastic, and plays really nicely. It's also a superb multi-effects box, obviously, and the effects are really, really great. Again, if you've used any of their plugins, you will know that the reverbs, delays, modulations are really top notch. Basically as good as it gets. Now that power obviously comes from the quad-core processing here. So we've got 4 SHARC DSPs, all running at, I believe, 500 megahertz for a total 2 gigahertz. That's how they're calculating that, of processing power. I've yet to see the DSP or the CPU get above about 40%, even when like the screen is full of blocks, which is pretty nuts. There's a lot of potential at play here. There's a lot of storage as well. So later on down the line, you should be able to, or they're saying you'll be able to upload your plugins that you've bought from Neural DSP to this unit and utilize those as well. So very nice future proofing. So we've got really good amp modeling, really good multi-effects. It's also utilizing their neural capture technology. So very similar to the Kemper that's become very popular over the years. You can capture any device with this and store a capture of that particular unit. So I've done a capture of my Marshall Silver Jubilee back here. In this video, we're going to do a capture of my Wampler Dual Fusion, and I can have that stored. Now, the captures I've done so far have been staggeringly close to the originals, to the point where even the dynamic response is really, really, really nailed. And you seem to have a little bit of flexibility with pushing those sounds around as well. There's like a 3-band EQ and a gain control as well, and obviously a level control. And you seem to be able to push things around in very kind of intuitive ways, which is great. Now, on top of that, it's also a very powerful audio interface with proper mic pre's with phantom power on as well. So you can run condenser mics in here by the 2 inputs on the top. And it's totally unique in terms of the UI. So the structure of this in terms of the massive 7-inch touchscreen, other devices have utilized touchscreens. What we've never seen before are these rotary actuators on here. And these are built to withstand the most insane amount of stomping on them. I mean, the guys have tested this stuff so rigorously. I've seen the video footage of them dropping this thing from head height onto stone floors, and it's surviving no problem. In fact, Doug from Neural DSP sent me that video personally just to show me the rigors that they've been going through to kind of test this stuff. So it's really, really solid in that regard. Now, the rotary actuators allow you to control with the dials, just like an amplifier, with a physical control, any of the parameters that are mapped to any of the blocks within this device. And that makes this so intuitive and easy to edit with. It's fantastic. But any parameter, anything can be controlled via the touchscreen. The only thing that can't be controlled by the touchscreen is the master output volume, which you control with this switch just here. Now, before we get into making presets and sounds and stuff, there's going to be a lot of sounds, but a lot of talking as well, because there's a lot to go through here. The first thing to talk about is the construction. It's anodized aluminium, unibody construction. So this is one piece of milled aluminium, really beautifully anodized for this kind of brushed look. And there's a back plate on there. That makes this thing absolutely rock solid, and it looks the business, as you'll see in the B-roll. Really, really nice indeed. Again, the switches are all stainless steel, so really, really well made. Volume control is also anodized aluminium on there as well. There's no plastic parts on here other than the cover of the screen, so it's really, really solid in terms of the construction. Now, as the layout goes, it's very simple to use as well. You've got your 8 foot switches down here labeled A to H, again with rotary actuators on there, so for dialing in sounds. We've also got 2 switches here and then a third up here, which is slightly separated. These are basically in 2 groups. So these become your preset up and down or bank up and down buttons. Then you would select your preset from the bank using the foot switches here, A through to H. These 2 buttons in combination will allow you to switch between the 3 different functions or modes that the unit utilizes. We have preset mode, where the buttons will switch between the presets and these 2 will switch between banks. That's the mode we're in just now. Push the 2 switches down together or touch here, we get into scene mode. Now this allows you 8 different scenes per preset. Now if I just swipe up here, you can see we've got this screen here that shows us our different scenes. This preset has a delay, reverb and delay, reverb and chorus, pushed, harder, clean. You can name these anything you want basically. So that's the scene mode. Tap here or push the 2 buttons together and we get into stomp mode. Now the 8 foot switches are mapped to any device that's in the signal chain, be it an amp, a cab, a gate, an EQ, whatever, can be assigned to one of the foot switches and then color coded. The LED will automatically color code to match here. So as I'm playing, I can say switch on the chorus. Either via the foot switch or via the the touch screen. We've got tap tempo down here. Now the tap tempo can be global or per scene or per preset. And just to clarify, when we're on the scene mode, what this means is that we can change any of the parameters for any of the blocks. If I just press close here and go back to our signal path, let's say for instance our amplifier here, we can have any of the parameters stored for an individual scene. So as I switch through the scenes here, scene C, scene D for instance, if I was to change some of the parameters here, they would be stored for that scene, which is effectively like having 8 presets within a preset. Really, really clever. If I go to my delay here, for example, I could even have different delay types per scene if I wanted to. So I could change any of these parameters and store them per scene, which is just super, super cool. And then as I pull up here, we get our scene image and we can see any of those scenes and switch between them. So on this push 20 watt rig, for instance, if I'm on scene A, again, I can switch with the foot switches or use like a desktop mode where I just touch the screen. I've got this pushed 20 watt Fender Deluxe Reverb style amplifier. So it's got a little bit of a drive pedal in front. And I've got just delay. As I go to scene B, we add in the reverb. Listen to the quality of those effects. But the other thing to pay attention to here is how amazingly dynamic these amp models are and the drive models. So this is already quite a pushed kind of compressed sound by its nature, but if I roll the volume off and switch between the different pickups, check this out. So here is the bridge pickup on full. Let's switch the chorus on. So if you were worried that the Quad Cortex would only be able to do metal sounds, because that's primarily or high gain sounds where Neural DSP have been up to this point, don't worry guys, this thing sounds epic for kind of middle gain, lower gain or clean tones. If I push this a little bit harder, again, listen to the way it responds to my pick dynamics. If I play with my fingers. Switch to the clean tone here. Again, this is one preset. if I go to Stomp box mode here, again, I've got all of my different effects built in here to the Stomp boxes, and they're mapped. I can change the mapping here if I want to as well, but this is how I've set this up for this preset. This preset, by the way, is in the factory presets. It's one of the ones I created. They've utilized in the factory presets. So here, for example, I can turn on my Green 808 or Tube Screamer on my clean patch. Or switch off the chorus, sorry. I meant reverb, of course. Turn off the Tube Screamer, turn on the compression. So, I mean, it's superb what you can do with just a single preset here. Now you can see also some different signal routing that I've got going on here. I've got my reverb running in parallel with my delays. There's a massive stuff you can do. So, talking about that, let's move on to creating a preset now, and we'll do one from scratch. So if we want to do that, at any point we can come in here, tap on the name of a preset, and we get this librarian or directory. Now here we've got a bunch of different ways of visualizing or looking through our presets. So at the top here we've got recent. We can come through and see all the different presets we've been playing with recently. We can store favorites just by tapping on the heart symbol for any of these different presets and see those there, and share them as well if we want to. We've got our factory library, which is based on 32 different banks, all with different presets in, some of which I've done as well, which is pretty cool. Then we've got my presets, which are all the presets you've created, again in banks of up to 32. So here's all my presets. And then we've got our factory captures, which are our neural captures that brilliantly Neural DSP have included with the package, which is great. So there's a whole different bunch of, like, this is a Bogner Fish preamp through a Meta Boogie Stereo 290 power amp, which is just amazing, with various different kind of gain and EQ settings, which is superb. There's even separate pre and power amps. There's different pedals on here. There's all sorts of different stuff to go through. And then we've got your own captures. So if we go on here, I've captured my Silver Jubilee. I've got one of a couple of Rabia's presets on here that he shared with me. Any impulse responses that you can load in. And then you've got your cloud directories and anything that's shared with you. So you can use the cloud. The unit has Wi-Fi built in. You can back up all your presets to the cloud so that you never lose them. So if anything happens to your presets, you can re-download them. Or you can share them using the Neural DSP app or the Quad Cortex app on your phone or on your computer, and share those via Wi-Fi with other users, upload your captures or your presets, or take captures or presets or impulse responses that other people have uploaded and stick them onto your unit wirelessly via the internet, which is amazing using the Wi-Fi built in. Now, if we want to create a new preset, go to My Presets here. I'm going to go to Bank 3 and find one of these unused presets. And what we're presented with is a blank screen with the bank and preset number, and then obviously unsaved here. And then we've got a load of different things that we can do here. Essentially, this top line here, we've got 4 rows. This means we can do up to 4 rows of different signal paths, or combine those 4 rows to get more complicated. We're going to do something relatively simple here. First thing I have to do is make sure I've got the right input selected. So on the left here, we can select from our inputs, either in mono or in stereo. So if you want to run the stereo inputs, you can do. And here we've got all of our standard analog inputs and our returns. And we also have USB inputs as well for running USB digital audio into and through the effects. So actually in the studio, that would be really great for mixing if you want to use the onboard effects. So we're going to select input 1, which is pre-selected. And then on the output here, we're going to select output 1 and 2 in stereo. Okay, it was already selected. Now it's as simple as tapping somewhere on the screen, and we get this plus icon and then a list of all the potential blocks. So we've got amp, cab, compressor, delay, EQ, effects loop, filter, modulation, our neural captures, the overdrive, blocks, pitch, reverb, utility, and wah. So there's something like 50 different amps, around 70 odd different effects, and this is going to be growing as Neural DSP update the firmware, of course. So the first thing we want to do is add in an amp block. Go in here and we drill down into a sub-menu of guitar. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select this Brit Plexi 100 patch. You can hear some noise because we haven't got a cab in there yet. Next, grab a cab. So we'll tap again somewhere else on the screen and do cab. And I'm going to go for, it's this one, I believe. So let's just come out of here. Okay, so we've got our amp block. and our cab block here. So the cab block's really nice because it's got this graphical representation of two speakers with two different mics on. Let's first of all change the mic here. So we're going to go for a Royer 160 or a Ribbon 160 and an SM57, which is something I like. It's a really classic combination. Now we can use the rotary dials here to change any of the parameters, or we can use the touchscreen. So what I'm going to do is pull the Royer off axis and pull it back from the cab. Sorry, the SM57, not the Royer. Pull the Royer back from the cab, but have it slightly more on axis. Hit done. Okay, let's go back to our amp here, and I'm going to increase the gain of gains 1 and 2, bring the bass response down, increase the treble, increase the mids, and now we've got a very basic guitar sound. So now and again, already sounds great, super dynamic as well. Feels awesome to play through, but let's add in a delay and a reverb. So we'll start with the delay, and we'll just grab a tape delay here and see how that sounds. A little bit more mix. Okay, so we're going to hit done. Now we're going to add a reverb on the end. So again, we tap here, go to our reverbs. You can see how quick this is to respond as well. Hit the Hall reverb there, tap on the block, and now we'll leave the decay where it is. Let's bring the mix down. It's at 50 by default. That's too high for me. Let's bring the low pass down further. We'll leave trails on, and now super high quality reverb. Really great sound. Superb. Okay, so let's also on here add a drive pedal in the front. Now what I'm going to do is at any point we can grab a block and drag it somewhere else in the signal chain. We can even drag it to another lane if you like, or another kind of row. At the front here, I'm going to add in an overdrive block. I'm going to go down to the Chestnut Classic, which is our green 808. Tap just here. I'm going to take the overdrive down to 0, push the level all the way up, which is a classic way of setting this up. And now really great sound, very, very simple to do. And now let's tap a little bit quicker on the delay. Okay, so let's say we wanted to now assign some of this stuff to Footswitches. We're in Stomp box mode. Let's just tap on the green 808, which says assign to E here. Let's tap here, and I want to assign it to A. So it's now assigned to Footswitch A. Really, really straightforward. So because I'm in Stomp box mode, if I hit done, I can turn it on or off now with the Stomp box. Super straightforward, really, really easy. Let's do the same thing with the delay. So tap here. It's already assigned it to C, I want it on B. And then we'll do the same thing with the reverb, assigned to D. Whoops, let's assign it to C. Okay, and now we've got, if I pull up here, 808, tape delay and Hall. Really, really straightforward. And then finally, let's bring these back on again. Let's go to scene mode. Whoops. Okay, now, as we scroll up here, let's say, for instance, we don't want the tube screamer on scene A. What I'm going to do is, you can see it says scene A here. I'm going to bypass that. Okay, and let's say on scene B, we want the tube screamer on. Whoops. We want the tube screamer on. On scene B, we don't want the delay. We just want the reverb. Simple as that. Now, other things we could do here, let's say on scene B, we also want, you can see it says scene B here, we want the ribbon mic to move off axis for a darker sound. Watch what happens when I go back to scene A. You can see the ribbon mic has moved back on axis. So now, if I pull up here, we've got our 3 different scenes. We've not named them yet. We would just tap on this icon here, and then we could name our scene using the keyboard. So now we've got no delay, and then here our mic has moved off axis for the Royer to sound a little bit darker. So huge amount of flexibility. Now, if you bear in mind that you could do an entirely different row now, utilizing either a different input, or you could actually do things where, say, for instance, you say, okay, well, I want this to output to row 3. Okay, so now it's going in input 1, across row 1, and then into row 3. And I could create an entirely new set of things that would update and run to output 1. So let's say, for instance, here we want a modulation at the very end of the signal path. In fact, what we'll do is we'll grab a pitch effect, we'll do pitch shifter, and we'll use this to thicken the sound. So what I want to do now is we're going to use this pitch fine, and we're going to adjust up by 7 cents. Okay, let's add another one afterwards. So we'll do pitch shifter, and we're going to do the opposite. We're going to go down. Okay. Now, one of the cool things that we could do here is we could actually say, right, in actual fact, what I want to happen is I want the signal to split like this. So what we're going to do is add in a splitter, and we're going to say this one, we want to only occur on this split path. And now they're not interacting with each other. They're separately detuning the signal. So we're not running one detune through another detune. So that signal is coming in at input 1, going through this signal chain we've got here, going down to row 3, and being parallel split for these 2 different pitch shifters, which is, again, imagine the possibilities, guys. There's so much that you can do here. It's absolutely insane. So now we've checked out making presets, storing them, different scenes. If we wanted to save this, all we would do is tap on save here, name the preset. We can apply tags to it so that you can search for those tags later. And that's great if you've got a ton of different presets and you want to find something quickly. You can come into your presets here and you can tap the search button and search for any presets via the tags that you've assigned or via the name of the preset and find it really quickly. And then you can create set lists as well. Click on new set list, name the set list, and you can create a set list for a particular gig. Very, very powerful indeed. And then of course share that with other people or whatever you want to do. Change the the order of things or add new effects blocks, whatever you want to do. Very, very intuitive indeed. So now we've done that, let's check out really quickly the I/O that's built into this unit, and then I want to show you finally the neural capture process using my Wampler Dual Fusion pedal. So at any point while I'm using the Quad Cortex, I can pull down from the top of the screen and I get a graphical representation of all the I/O that's built into the unit. And Neural DSP have gone to town here, giving you everything that you could ever wish for as far as the I/O goes. So we start out on the right here, and these correspond to the layout on top with the mic pre's and the line level inputs. These are combi jacks, they're Neutrik combi jacks, really good quality. And again, for the first time ever, I've found, or we've got here, a unit which allows you to select mic inputs with phantom power, switchable phantom power. So for running condenser mics, that's amazing. This graphical interface allows you to adjust the gain, the impedance for instrument level inputs, do ground lift per input, and these are all switching relays that are happening. There's little clicks happening in hardware inside the unit, which is great. And we've got independent control over input 1 and input 2, just by selecting the relevant input here. And as I say, these will run with XLRs or jacks. Now, we've then got send and returns. We've got 2 send and returns. Now, these can be used as loops for sending audio to external pedals, say analog drive pedals or analog anything really, or digital pedals. Say if you want to run, for instance, a analog chorus or a favorite drive pedal, you can do that. Or you can utilize these as send and returns for sending to front of house or bringing audio back in from some other source. That can be independently selected if it was one of the input blocks on the signal chain. Or finally, and this is the first time I've seen this as well, you can patch the send and returns and run effects from inside the Quad Cortex out and then back in again somewhere else in the signal chain. Now, because that's a little confusing, I'm just going to add a patch cable here now and show you what I mean with one of the inbuilt presets that they've done, where they actually patch some of the audio out the unit and then back in again to combine the effects in really creative ways. So let's check that out now. So the next thing we've got is outputs 3 and 4. And again, these can be selected independently and the output levels can be changed. And this is again stereo output, jack based, which allows you to run to a different output, say front of house, a different amplifier on stage, or run to another device without the cab blocks on, whatever you want to do essentially. Maybe run a dry signal with no effects for recording purposes. You then have a high quality headphone out, which is going to allow you to run even really high quality headphones that require a lot of preamp gain. Then we have our capture out, and the capture out is what we're going to utilize for doing our neural capture process. And the unit, when you do a new capture, walks you through the process really, really clearly step by step. So we'll see that shortly. We've then got our high quality balanced outputs here, XLR based outputs. These again have a ground lift on, and they have an output level, and they have an inbuilt limiter as well, so you can't clip the output stage. You might clip the input of something else if you run the level too hot, but you can't clip the output, which is really, really nice. A very high quality feature that's very welcome here. So output 1 and 2. We then have full MIDI integration with MIDI in and MIDI out. This means you can control other units with the Quad Cortex or control the Quad Cortex from a MIDI controller. You also have USB MIDI, so MIDI over USB, which allows you to control the Quad Cortex via, let's say, a DAW or any kind of USB-based MIDI controller, which is very welcome again. And we've got 2 expression pedal inputs, which can be fully calibrated from here, and the position of them can be shown as well. And then they can be set or assigned to any parameter within the Quad Cortex that can be assigned to an expression pedal, so like wah, or fading in volume, or doing the wet mix of delays, for instance. So that's really, really straightforward. And that's why there's no expression pedal built into the unit. They want to keep it compact. Finally, you've got the pièce de résistance, your USB connection here. And this turns the Quad Cortex into a fully fledged core audio based or kind of class compliant audio interface. Now I've used this with a Mac. I've used it with an iPad Pro without needing any drivers at all. It works fantastically with both of those units. On Windows, you'll need an ASIO driver, but that gives you super low latency audio interface capabilities with 2 fully powered mic pre's on there, really good quality mic pre's, and then all those are inputs and outputs, and 8 lanes of USB audio, so 4 stereo pairs, which is just amazing, really. So this could replace your entire audio interface, and if you're a singer-songwriter or somebody playing multiple instruments, you could have your guitar plugged in input 1, you could have your bass plugged into input 2, or you could even have a condenser mic for your vocals plugged into input 2. Use the returns here for something like bass, for example. And then you've got 4 different independent signal paths that you can process your audio through, whilst recording all of it via USB, again with phantom power on there, whatever you need to do, or run audio tracks via USB back into this thing for playing along to whatever you need to do. It's really remarkable what Neural have achieved here with the I/O and the kind of sheer number of things that this unit can do. So with that said, let's close this down now. And what we're going to do is we're going to go into capture mode, and I'm going to capture my Wampler dual fusion pedal and also let you hear the Marshall Silver Jubilee capture that I did earlier this month. All right, so let's start the capture process here. It's dead straightforward to do. I've got my dual fusion. This is the prototype here because the actual one is on my pedal board. It's going to be plugged in all the right ways. But the great thing here is if we hit these 3 dots and go to new neural capture, the Quad Cortex is going to show us what to do. So it says plug your instrument into return 1, which I've done here. Connect your headphones or XLR cables for monitoring, which I've done. Connect capture out to the device being captured. That's what this cable is just here. And then it says position your mic in front of your cabinet. Well, that's not relevant to us because we're not miking anything up. And plug that into input 1. If you have an amplifier, or in this case a pedal that has a DI out, you can opt to use that instead of a microphone. So in this case, I'm just taking the output from the pedal and running into the input here. If you were running an amplifier, you could use the DI out, which is what I did for my Marshall Silver Jubilee. If you don't have a DI out and you don't want to mic up, like in this room, I don't want to mic up a really loud 4x12 or 2x12 or even a 1x12. What you can do is run into a load box, which will take the speaker out into a load and then take the output of that load box, the DI out of that load box into this unit. Just make sure there's no speaker simulation on there because you're going to want to capture without speaker simulation if you want to use the onboard IRs or speaker simulation block. Then we hit next, and then we basically it's asking is everything connected properly. We hit confirm, and now we need to set our levels. So here I can hear now you're hearing this with no amp or cab simulation, so you're just hearing the raw sound of the dual fusion. You can see we're slightly clipping on our input here, so I'm just going to pull the input down. There we go, but the dual fusion level is not clipping at all. So those levels look good. You can do an auto set as well if you want to, and you can change all the parameters here. So start capture, and then I'm going to basically skip through a lot of this process because it takes a while. Now we hit save. Now for the sake of keeping this really quick, I'm just going to hit DF for the name of this, hit save, and it saved it. So we can exit from here now. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to set up a preset here on this preset where we've got both the dual fusion as the quad cortex capture and also the actual dual fusion in the loop and have a listen to the difference between those two. So I've set that preset up now, and effectively what I've got is I'm in stomp box mode and the actual dual fusion is on A, and then our neural captured version is on Footswitch B. So let's check out the actual dual fusion. Switch over to the quad cortex. Back to the capture. One more time. That is pretty ridiculous. They're so close, it's insane. They feel exactly the same to play, exactly the same. And they're responding to dynamics exactly the same as well. So that's pretty cool that I have a version of my dual fusion in the quad cortex now for traveling around with and sticking in front of amps like this. Pretty crazy. Final thing, let me show you the Silver Jubilee preset that I created where I did a capture of the dual fusion in front of the Silver Jubilee just to finish with. So here is that preset. This is my Silver Jubilee capture that I did. This amp just behind me using the DI out. The actual capture itself sounds like this. That really does sound remarkably like the amp. And then I'm going to switch the dual fusion in the front. This is my preferred setup for this amp, and we get this. we can come in and we can increase the gain on these things as well. So let's increase the gain on the Silver Jubilee and a little bit on the Dual Fusion as well. So there we go, guys. That is the Neural DSP Quad Cortex. It's a remarkable device that requires a long video to really explain exactly what it does. So I apologize that the video is long, but hopefully you've enjoyed that and been really inspired by what this offers in terms of potential. It's a remarkable, remarkable thing. And I want to congratulate Neural DSP on creating such a fantastic product in almost every single area. There's nothing really that I would want to massively improve on this thing. I think it's doing a fantastic job, and I can't wait to see what they've got in store for this product in the future. As usual, guys, if you click the link in the description below, that will take you to Neural DSP's website where you can check out the full details of the Quad Cortex. And of course, they're available, massive bonus this, from pretty much any retailer worldwide that stocks Neural DSP stuff. So in this case, you can get them from all your major retailers. Massive bonus. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button if you enjoyed this video. And of course, make sure you hit the bell notification to make sure you never miss any more videos as I upload them. My name's Tom Quayle. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.